You are Locked On Pistons Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, it wasn't pretty, but the Pistons get it done on the road for their sixth straight win. Welcome into a live Locked On Pistons Postcast. I am your host, Jake Riepma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma, and make it be known the Pistons have a 6-game win streak, the longest win streak since the 2014-2015 season. My goodness, wasn't always pretty tonight, but hey, they get the dub 148-143. Cade Cunningham goes off 38 points. A lot of that done in the first half. We will talk about that. And how about Dennis Schroeder having a little Pistons moment there at the end of the game? Malik Beasley was big in the fourth quarter as well. A high-scoring affair as the Pistons score the most points in regulation in the regular season with 148, and they've won 6 straight. And, of course, we'll wrap it up with our studs and duds. So come along. It's a live Locked On Pistons postcast. And as always, don't forget your favorite podcast, Locked On Pistons, now has a newsletter that you can sign up for free. Just go to lockedondaily.com to sign up for the free newsletter. It's your one-stop shop for everything Detroit Pistons. Don't forget to tune in to Locked On Pistons with Koo Cahill. Shout out to Koo. And how about a huge shout out to today's presenting sponsor, making the show possible, brought to you by Locked On Pistons Postcast is in fact brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins, America's #1 sports book. All right, that being said, this wasn't the prettiest of games for the Detroit Pistons. In fact, I was on the edge of my seat, biting my nails, and a little bit upset that this game was so close because it's the Atlanta Hawks, for goodness sakes, and the Pistons. That's how greedy I've gotten. I know the Pistons are a much better basketball team than the Atlanta Hawks, but the defense just wasn't there tonight. That being said, down the stretch when, the lights were the brightest and it was crunch time, the moments were the biggest, the Pistons clearly were the better team. Got a couple of stops, forced Trae Young, who got in his bag at times in this game, but took some bad shots down the stretch. But all told, if you like offense, this was the game for you. Over 41 made threes, 24 lead changes, 8 ties. And anytime these two teams get together, it's going to be fireworks. That's for sure, because the last time these two teams played, the Hawks got the better half of the Detroit Pistons with that 132-130 win where Trae Young hit that shot at the horn back in the early portion of February, on February the 3rd. And it was a close game. The second time these two teams played at the end of January, the Pistons won that one 114-104, and then here this one 148-143. So close games all the way around, but you love when the Pistons come out on top, and they've done so 6 consecutive times. Now, that being said, you feel really, really good about what the Pistons have done on this road trip, because now they get to come back. And I know second night of back-to-back, it's always tough, especially with travel involved, but back at LCA tomorrow night to take on the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers come to town, but you look at this road trip that had the All-Star break between a couple of road games, but the Pistons go 4-0 on the road trip with 2 wins over the Bulls, a win over the Spurs in Austin, and then here this evening, a win on the road in Atlanta. So with all the winning that's being done, stockpiling those victories with Jaden Ivey out and rehabbing back with that injury, the Pistons are 5 games above 500, 31-26, and 17 road wins. That's why I put on the thumbnail, Road Warriors, because they have shown to be exactly that, Road Warriors. So if you're just joining us, it's a live Locked On Pistons postcast, your post-game destination, free and available wherever you get your podcasts, and of course, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. I want to give a shout out to everybody in the comments, and I am still seeing the comments of confusion, so let me continue to lay it down and break it down. If you're new around here, It's the Locked On Pistons post-game show. It's not taking the place of Locked On Pistons. It's just the post-game coverage. It's a live reaction show after the Pistons game. Very, very simple. So appreciate everybody's comments, but it's the Locked On Pistons post-game show, Locked On Pistons postcast. So I'm going to explain it till I'm blue in the face, and maybe we'll get some help in explaining it if you catch my drift. That being said, Pistons get the win here, 148-143 on a Sunday. And the first half was all about Cade Cunningham. Came to play in that first half with 29 points in the first half. Man, he looked like a man on a mission. He looked like he was playing like an offensive scorer possessed, which you love to see from Cade Cunningham. And in that opening half, and in particular in the second quarter, the Pistons really started to feel themselves offensively. All told, they put up 76 points in the first half. Some of the best movement you've seen on the offensive end, getting out and running in transition. The assists were active this evening. I believe it was a season high in assists for the Detroit Pistons as a team. I got to double check on that. But as a team, 39 assists, which again is a testament to how well they were flowing on the offensive end, which Cade Cunningham led a lot of that with the 29 points in the first half. Now, he finished with 38, so that was a lot to do with the concerted effort in the second half of the Atlanta Hawks to take away Cade Cunningham and, at times double teaming him, triple teaming him, face guarding him. And the Pistons were kind of doing the same to Trae Young, who Trae Young had a couple of bad shots down the stretch that really cost his team. Then he had the offensive foul, which credit to JB Bickerstaff, by the way. I meant to mention that earlier, and brilliantly holding on to his coach's challenge to use at the right time on that when that was a one possession game. And what's his name? Trae Young goes to the basket trying to draw the foul on Isaiah Stewart, and the Pistons and JB Bickerstaff alertly used that challenge to challenge the play, and it was clearly Trae Young who was initiating the contact, and Isaiah Stewart staying in legal guarding position, which again is a huge testament to effective defense played by Isaiah Stewart, which you absolutely love to see. You got to give him a lot of credit there. So props to Isaiah Stewart, props to the Detroit Pistons who made the plays defensively when it mattered the most. Trae Young still finishes with 38 points, but how about Georges Niang? 27 points off the bench, and he was lighting it up from distance, which 10 made three-pointers. Now, he did take 20 of them, so that's a heck of a game. 20 shots behind the three-point line. And you talk about today's NBA, 148-143 final, and the Pistons launching 43s and the Hawks launching 45 threes and combining for 41 made threes. So it's a lot of three-pointers, a lot of shots, not a lot of defense being played in this one. And I think too, Dyson Daniels deserves a lot of credit. He played well defensively a couple times, forced some turnovers on Cade. But overall, the other part I wanted to get to, in crunch time, Dennis Schroeder played a lot of meaningful minutes and played really well down the stretch. And totally had 22 minutes and was 5 of 10 from the floor, 5 of 5 from the charity stripe, which was important because the Pistons had to knock down some free throws there at the end of the game to continue to put this one on ice. But Dennis Schroeder had his Pistons moment with the Pistons down by 1 after Trae Young had hit a three-pointer, and the Hawks clearly taking away Cade Cunningham and not letting the Pistons, run the offense through Cade Cunningham. And it was Dennis Schroeder who put the ball on the deck, drew the foul, and got the and one bucket to give the Pistons the lead. And then the free throw gave the Pistons the 2-point lead on the 3-point play, the old-fashioned way, the hard way. And that ended up being the difference in this one. So Dennis Schroeder, I'm calling it his Pistons moment because, man, it was good to see. It was good to see him have that huge moment that helped the Pistons and propelled them to victory. Asar Thompson was good tonight. He did have the one brutal turnover down the stretch there that led to an easy dunk that tied the game at 135, but he made up for it with a bucket the very next possession. But then again, it was really back and forth down the stretch there, which made very, very compelling to take in. But that being said, Pistons get the win over the Atlanta Hawks, 148 to 143. It's a 5-point victory for the Detroit Pistons, who move 5 games above 500, 31-26. We're going to get to your comments because I know a lot of people want to get in, and your comments are welcome. That's what makes the live show so fun. So get your comments in, and we will hear from your comments. Next, we'll continue to break this one down as well. And, of course, have our studs and duds. We hear from the people next. Don't go anywhere. It's a live Locked On Pistons postcast here on Locked On Sports Detroit. Hey, this episode of the Locked On Pistons postcast is brought to you by DoorDash. That's right. Listen up, NBA fans. If you're like me, then you love a good deal. And how about this one? They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, any game, and anybody in the NBA, you score a huge deal the very next day. Here's how it works. It's very, very simple. You don't even need to write this down. I'm confident you'll be able to remember it. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order. 50 points, 50% off. That's how easy it is to remember. It's up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. I love fueling my watch party with the Dash Pass. If you're planning to catch the next game, order your go-to snacks and meals at a discount and get ready for more high-scoring action. I love a good game day feast. After an epic 50-point performance, you can celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, burgers. Oh, I'm getting hungry just thinking about it. And they're delivered straight to your door. That's how it works. So sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the very next day, up to $10 off per order. You just got to use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. And we're back in action on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. As always, fired up to be with you on a live Locked On Pistons postcast. Jake Riepma with me. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Riepma. This is Locked On Sports Detroit, and my reminder to subscribe as we get closer and closer to 2,000 subscribers. It's your destination for post-game reaction shows where you can chop it up and talk all about what's happening in the world of Detroit sports. That's right. We do Locked On Pistons postcast, Locked On Tigers postcast. They're in spring training. I know Casey Mize looked good today. Locked On Lions postcast and Locked On Michigan Wolverines football postgame shows. And we don't do Locked On Red Wings postgame shows, but the Red Wings won today. It was not pretty once again. They let that lead get away again. Back-to-back games. This one went to overtime, but Patrick Kane won it for the Red Wings, his second goal of the game, and they get the win 5-4 over the Ducks, but they did lead 4-2 in this one. But anyways, back to the action on the hardwood. I promised we'd get to your comments, and that's what's up next. Mark, my good buddy Mark, longtime listener, friend of the program, leads it off. Good teams win ugly. They'll get bounced immediately in the first round if they continue to play stupid at the end of games. Now, Mark, I might need you to elaborate a little bit on that because, yes, and maybe the fourth quarter wasn't exactly what we were looking for, or the second half for that matter, as the Pistons did squander a lead. But when it got really tight down the stretch, I thought the Pistons were the better team. But I get what you're saying in that never should have gotten to that point, never should have gotten that close with the Pistons having a 9-point lead in that second half, and the Hawks really controlling the play in that fourth quarter. They ended up outscoring the Pistons 40-36 in that fourth quarter. But all told, the Pistons still get the victory. Demetrius McNeil is up next. What a night for Detroit teams. Pistons score 148 points to win their sixth straight game. And now Patrick Kane with an overtime winner over the Ducks in OT. Showtime indeed. And right on cue, Demetrius McNeil, my guy. Appreciate you as always. We're on the same page per usual, indeed. I mean, after all, this is Locked On Sports Detroit. Maple Bear is up next. Mark, way to contradict yourself in one sentence. All right, we don't need everybody getting on each other in the comments. And no producer here, remember that. So I'm just reading these willy-nilly. So help me out. I don't have anybody screening the ticket text like I used to on 97.1 The Ticket. It's just me here, people. Mr. My City says defense was non-existent on both sides. Glad we were able to pull this one out. Never felt we would lose, but the defense has to show up. Cade was kicking ass, and I quote JB. Mr. My City, you are the man. I completely agree. And I'm watching that game thinking, man, some of the old heads, some of the unks, if you will, would be going crazy watching this game because there's just no defense. I think of my late father, and we loved watching basketball, college hoops, NBA, you name it. That's what we love so much about those 2004 going to work Pistons teams that just played such great defense all the time. And I know the rule changes make it difficult to do so, but man, no defense tonight. Mr. My City goes on to say somebody else had to step up in the second half. They tried to clamp Cade. Beasley was huge. The challenge at the end was huge. No doubt about it. Great challenge by JB Bickerstaff to really help preserve the victory. And just when the Pistons got a little momentum there down the stretch, that challenge by JB Bickerstaff really helped seal this one. And Malik Beasley, very, very good. 13 points in the fourth quarter. Some huge threes, and we'll go over more of that in the studs and duds portion of the program. But 7 of 12 from the floor overall and 6 of 10 from the long line. So great stuff there. There is no doubt about it. Who's up next? We've got Trae McNichols in the comments. I appreciate you tuning in. Duren has totally revolutionized the offense with his short roll playmaking. So used to seeing him 4 shots with 3 guys covering him under the rim. Trae, that is a great point, my friend. And that's why the viewers and commenters on the Locked On Pistons postcast, Locked On Sports Detroit for that matter, are so valuable because I had that in my notes, but I hadn't gotten to it yet. And that's a great point because Duren has been so good, especially in the second half of the season, or really you could say since the turn of the calendar. And he was really good again tonight overall and finishing with 13 points, had some big buckets down the stretch. And, you know, yes, you could use more on the rebounding side. He had just 5 rebounds, but he had 6 assists. He's seeing the man and making the extra pass. And as I'm looking at the assist category, I see 12 from Cade Cunningham. And man, I gotta just continue to tip the cap to Cade Cunningham. What a game. 38 points and 12 assists. Dude was putting up numbers. But that is a great point. All right. Next comment from Little John 17. Detroit has a uber mega star. I believe, did Blaha say that on the broadcast? Somebody said Cade Cunningham is going to get some MVP votes this year, and I don't disagree with that. I think it's totally worthwhile to chant MVP when Cade Cunningham is up on the free throw line because he's playing like an MVP, playing at an MVP caliber level. And you look at 38 points and 12 assists, willing his team to victory. And when the Hawks chose to take him out of it and refused to let him score, he impacted the game through the assist side of things. So good stuff there all the way around from the Detroit Pistons, who now return home to take on the LA Clippers and begin a nice little homestand here. I know they got to play back to back, but then a big one Wednesday night. They're all big at this point as the Pistons vie for position in the Eastern Conference, still above that cut line, and at the 6th seed right now, would not be playing in the play-in games. That's the 7 through 10 seeds. So they're in that first group of 6 that wouldn't be playing in the NBA play-in tournament, or not the play-in tournament, but the play-in for the playoffs. So yes, the play-in tournament, but you get what I'm saying. It just didn't come out very well. And that will happen when you talk for 30 straight minutes. You're going to say some dumb stuff. So I appreciate everybody bearing with me. But Celtics come to town on Wednesday, 7:00 tip off on that. And then the Nuggets. So man, some tough games here with the Clippers, Celtics, and Nuggets, followed by the Nets to wrap up a little 4-game homestand that's ahead for the Detroit Pistons. And of course, we'll be with you for the Locked On Pistons postcast. That's what makes it fun. That's what we're here for on Locked On Sports Detroit, and that is why you subscribe. All right, we'll tie a bow on it with our studs and duds. So I need some help. I need you to provide your studs and duds in this one, who stood out for their studly performance and who stood out for a Dudley performance, and a dud not being what you want. So don't go anywhere. The Locked On Pistons postcast continues in just a moment. This episode of the Locked On Pistons Postcast is brought to you by America's #1 sportsbook. And you know by now, that's FanDuel. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off, not to worry, or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, well, how about dialing up a little parlays? Combine your live bets into a same game parlay. Another day, another parlay. Now, listen, I'll be honest with you. I don't always have the best of luck with the parlays. So sometimes I stick to some live betting when I see the way a game's going. For example, this Hawks and Pistons game tonight, you could have bet the over, no problem, even bet the live over, because nobody was playing any defense tonight. So that's how you get in on the action, and you can do so at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And right now, new FanDuel users and new customers get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thanks for staying with us on a live Locked On Pistons postcast as we wrap it up. Want to give a shout out to my guy, Rock Howard, who says, "Don't touch me, I'm sizzling." That's in reference to the Cade Cunningham post-game interview with Smooth Johnny Kane, as Malik Beasley came up to him and said, hey, what did you tell me? Yeah, don't touch me, I'm sizzling. Good stuff there. You gotta love it, because Cade Cunningham was sizzling. That's why he dropped 38 points and 12 assists for one of our studly performances of the game. Of course, Cade Cunningham is a stud. I feel like he is every single game. He's like a 50-time studly winner, however many games the Pistons have played. That's how many times he's been a stud in this one. Keon TV says it wasn't the best defense tonight, but we got it done for the Detroit Pistons. My point exactly. Other studs in tonight's performance, you got to give a huge shout out to my guy off the bench, Malik Beasley. When it mattered the most in the fourth quarter, he was very productive. 24 points in total, 6 of 10 from the long line, 7 of 12 from the floor. Struggled a little bit from the foul line, not going to lie, but the two crucial free throws to put the Pistons up by 4 after he drew the foul going to the rim when the Pistons got that big defensive stop were two really critical free throws that helped to kind of put this game on ice. So Pistons win it 148-143. Other studs in tonight's game, you got to give a lot of credit to Asar Thompson. He was efficient, 7 of 8 from the floor for 14 points. Now, I don't like the 3 turnovers from Asar, but that being said, I thought there was times where he played really well tonight for the Detroit Pistons. Some duds, guys that you're looking for a little bit more from. And I should say, too, I want to give Dennis Schroeder a stud. I mean, 16 points in 22 minutes, 5 of 10 from the floor. And he's on there to facilitate the offense. He was +5 while he was out there with 7 assists. So I apologize. I need to put him up higher on the stud list, because he had his Detroit Pistons moment, too, with that big and one, and give him a lot of props, because it was his best game in a Pistons uniform, and he's acclimating quickly to that new role. I mean, overall, I think the dud was both teams' defenses. I think that's pretty obvious, especially the Pistons. They just allowed the Hawks to hang around. And when you give up 21 made 3-pointers, that's a testament to lackluster perimeter defense. There's no doubt about that. 10 made 3-pointers for Georges Niang. You had on the other side, Trae Young makes 6 3-pointers, and overall, just a lot of guys for the Atlanta Hawks getting in on the action in this one. But all is well that ends well, and the Pistons win it 148-143. That's a great finishing finality to the road trip, and the Pistons can come home with a quick turnaround, mind you. No doubt about it, a quick turnaround for a game tomorrow night against the Clippers. All right. That being said, appreciate everybody tuning in. A couple more comments. Mr. My City always getting in on the comments. Appreciate that. He says, very happy Trae Young isn't my point guard. What a dumb shot down the stretch. Yeah, it really was. I mean, he is a heat check definition. He was trying to have his moment with a deep, deep three, but to no avail. And then he had the offensive foul the next time around. So I think Trae Young's one of those players, and we saw it the last time the Pistons played the Hawks. He's good for a couple of dagger threes or dagger jump shots. What do they call them? Ice Trae, for ice in his veins. But that being said, I agree. I don't think you want to build a team around him. All right, Trey McNichols here. I got to say, I didn't like how it was going early. A lot of silly and unnecessary whistles, and Cade was carrying, but a total team win in the second half. Yeah, I agree, Trey. You saw it come together. And I think the Hawks, I mean, based on what they did at the deadline in trading guys, I think you could classify them as sellers. And so it's just a win you have to have. And again, it doesn't have to be pretty like it wasn't tonight, but in the end, they got it done, which is all that matters. And now, hey, let's see how mature. It's a sign of a maturity sign. How mature can this Pistons team do to get on an airplane, fly back to Detroit, and be ready to go tomorrow night against the Clippers with a quick turnaround in the second night of a back-to-back. All right. Key Ozzy says, I've been said one of the Pistons' current weaknesses is their perimeter three-point defense. If we can somehow get better at that, we could take another notch in improving our defense overall. Completely agree, because you look at the front court and the interior defense from the big men of the Detroit Pistons, it's pretty good. But when they have to step away from the basket, that's when sometimes Duren and Stewart and some of the other big guys struggle in defending the perimeter. But tonight, it was everybody that struggled defending Georges Niang and the rest of the Atlanta Hawks from beyond the long line, as George Blaha would say. But again, the Pistons get the win, and that's what you love to see. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's always a pleasure. And don't forget that your favorite Pistons podcast now has a newsletter. Introducing the Locked On Pistons daily newsletter. It's your one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage, and it's delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free right now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com, and start your day with the all-new free Locked On Pistons newsletter. And for the love of goodness and everything holy, the next person to comment, hey, where's this? This is just the Locked On Pistons post-game show. Locked On Pistons Postcast. It's very simple. It's a live post-game show. That's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. So appreciate everybody tuning in. And as always, it's my pleasure to be on the air, and it's even more fun and exciting after a Pistons victory. Shout out to each and every one of you tuning in and on the comments as well. Pistons finished the road trip 4-0, 6-game winning streak. It's the longest win streak since the 2014-2015 season. I know I said that earlier, but it is worth repeating. Longest win streak since 2014-2015 season. We'll see if the Pistons can keep it rolling, and we won't have to wait long because they're back at it tomorrow night against the Clippers. Until then, have a wonderful rest of your evening. And whether you're catching this on a Sunday evening, catching it live, or maybe catching the audio-only version, we appreciate you for tuning in. And if you're on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit. And as always, leave a friendly review. I would greatly appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow night, Pistons Clippers. But tonight, it was the Pistons getting the win over the Atlanta Hawks, 148-143. Detroit now 31-26 on the season. We'll talk to you tomorrow night on the Locked On Pistons postcast on Locked On Sports Detroit.